Really? First of all, of course, guys, just our house. Everyone, feel free to move forward. There's water, there's tea, yeah. So thank you everyone for coming. I'm going to speak for just just a minute, and say what an honor it is to have Eitan here and Leora, the architects of this Haggadah, and of course to have Dovid'l back in Modiin is an amazing zchus. Very quickly, I'm lucky that Miriam's family knows the Ashmans now for a while. Eitan had a burgeoning business taking care of apartments here for people who don't live here regularly, and Miriam's parents are one such client, and through that zechus I was able to meet Eitan and Leora, and then Leora running some ideas by me about this Haggadah. Tremendous zechus to work on it, to contribute a little bit to it. We're also very lucky to have Dr. Uri Schneider here, who contributed as well to both the Torah aspect as well as the inclusion tools in the Haggadah. So I'm not going to talk much about the Haggadah because I wouldn't do it justice, and we have Leora and Eitan here for that. But I'm just so happy to see people here, to meet Eitan, to learn about Eitan's journey, to hopefully feed off, as I have, Leora's strength and energy. It's contagious. It's just unbelievable to be in Leora and Eitan's presence, and to hear some words of Torah from Dovid'l. So with that, I will hand it off to Eitan.
Okay.
And yeah.
Thank you. So,
Do you want to preface?
yeah.
Okay, Eitan. Oh, hi. Eitan is okay. Very good. Okay, so Eitan he's gonna read something first, give you a little bit of what's gonna just go on. Eitan will read something, where Dovid'l will share his Torah, and then I will give you a little bit of background on what happened to Eitan, our story, how the Haggadah came to be, and how you can use the Haggadah. Eitan has aphasia, which we'll get into after. So Eitan has trouble reading, but he is going to read, and he is going to start off the evening.
Yeah. Okay. Hi. Erev Chodesh Tov. Thank you very much for coming tonight and to learn about Haggadah and to learn from David. 6 years ago, I had a stroke, but the doctor said I wouldn't still be alive, wouldn't live, but here I am. I lost my memory. Torah had learned the use of my arm, and I have aphasia. It's hard for me to speak, write, and read, but I know what to say, but I can't get it out. So Leora and David, and you'll do the rest. So
And
at the end, questions.
I'll answer questions.
Yes. So.
We know now you're speechless.
I'm also speechless. I'm utterly speechless. First of all, it's so nice to be back in Modiin. I don't spend nearly enough time here.
Agreed.
I've enjoyed, the limited number of trips that I've had here, both in the context of, I'm not sure if this is a homogenous community per se that's sitting here. Maybe people daven in different shuls. But the Modiin community is very close to my heart. We have some very dear family friends from here. I don't know exactly even where. I know Modiin is humongous, so we have some very close family friends here, the Wax Press family, Jody and Josh, and have been here a number of times in that capacity over the years. And if anyone knows them, a very special family. As I just said a moment ago to the Ashmans, and I'll get to you in a minute, even though I know you don't want me to. As I just said to the Ashmans, when there was some surprise that I had read, I received the Haggadah. I got an advanced copy, before tonight. So I got my hands on it, and I read it. I read the whole thing cover to cover, probably in less than 24 hours. And I said before to Eitan that when I have the opportunity to get my hands on something which is a creative output of either a friend of mine or someone who is so clearly going to become a friend of mine in the very near future, I can't help myself. I just become completely immersed in the work of the creative work of the creative work is godly work. Rav Soloveitchik said that Bereshis bara Elokim, the first pasuk in the Torah, is also halacha. Leave it to Rav Soloveitchik to turn, Bereshis bara Elokim, and also to halacha. That's a real halachic man. That the first mandate of the Torah is just as God is creative, so too we have to be creative. And this creative output, which even in the presentation of it is so beautiful, and the struggle to, as you said a moment ago, we were just looking at your Haggadah, to get it out, to move it out, and to actually get it onto paper is the struggle of every creative person. Every person who's trying to get it out somehow and can't figure out how to get it out. And that's really what I want to speak about in the context of Pesach for a few minutes, for all of us. And obviously, I'm not sure, we didn't decide exactly how long I'd speak for, but we'll play it a little bit by ear, and let me know if it's tiring for you or if it's tiring for anybody here. And nobody's expected to sit and to stay. If this is not a lecture. I'm not standing. It's not. This is words that are yotzim and halev as a reaction to having read the Haggadah, and it's so obvious that this is a partnership. Also, that this Haggadah is a partnership of the two of you. I have two Sfarim that I've written, and in the second one, in the acknowledgements, I was still learning, in the first one, but in the second one, in the acknowledgements, when I was acknowledging, all the various people who helped to bring it out, there was some line in there about, my name is on the cover, but my wife's name really should be there right next to mine, and I'm sure it's the same thing here, and I'm sure Eitan doesn't mind me saying that because I know how that works. Yeah. And the same thing is obviously true of preparing an evening like this, which is its own form of creative output. It might not have a glossy cover on it, and it might not have the people's names, but when I didn't even see if your name was written somewhere on the outside of the house, but when you walk into the house also there's usually a name of a family there. And so obviously a very big thank you to Binyamin and to your wife and to your children who have been sharing and enjoying their Divrei Torah, which is no different, and there's a creative output from a friend. It begs to be consumed. So that brings us to Pesach. We're right before Pesach, obviously, and the major theme of Pesach, going back to the very, very beginning, the earliest sources, is all about the redemption of speech. It's all about the redemption of speech, all about this effort to get it out, to get us out, and to get it out, which is really the same thing, this feeling of not being able to express oneself in the way that one would like to. And I think the main thing that when I read the Haggadah, because this, like I said before, this is a bit of a review of the Haggadah. That's what I see this as, not as a shiur in the classic sense. And I'm sure I'll share some Torah along the way. But my gut reaction to reading the Haggadah was to think of a pasuk, which was explained so beautifully by one of the great masters of Musar, Rav Yerucham of Mir. And that's the pasuk that we say every Shabbos, that we say that the Shamayim are misaprim kvod kel. The heavens are speaking the honor of God. Shamayim is speaking the honor of God. But of course, heaven doesn't have a mouth, and heaven doesn't speak. And the most beautiful explanation of this pasuk, which is expressed by Rabbi Yerucham of Mir, is that sometimes the actions that are taking place, the hours that went into making a Haggadah like this, speak louder than a Haggadah that's this thick, filled with so many words. And the Haggadah Shel Pesach, and the holiday of Pesach specifically, is exactly about this Nakuda. And here, I guess I am speaking to all of us, for those of us who are zocheh to try to express what we feel of our own emunah to our children and trying to pass it on to the next generation. Everybody is going through this experience of how can I convey something that I know so deeply inside and I understand so deeply inside myself, but I just can't figure out how to say it. I'll share a story. There's a story about Rabbi Cheskel Levenstein and one of his chaverim / talmidim, Rav Wolbe. Rav Wolbe is the author of the Alei Shor, a great mashkiach and a great orator. And the two of them one time had a meeting together. And Rav Wolbe was he was complaining to his Rebbe, as a mashkiach might, that the Talmidim just don't seem to get it. There are Talmidim who have questions in Emunah, even in such a great yeshiva, questions in Emunah and questions in Hashkafa, and I can't convey to them what I'm trying to, they're not getting it. So Rav Yerucham looked at Rav Wolbe and he said, I don't understand what the problem is. He said, well, I'm trying to explain to them about Emunah B'Hashem and it's not going somehow. So Rav Yerucham looked at him and he said, just tell them that you believe in Hashem. And Rav Wolbe was like a little bit taken aback. He's like, what do you mean just tell them? Like, that's what I'm doing for hours. Every sikha is like... And as he was about to walk out the door, feeling like maybe the Shir didn't understand what I was trying to say, as he was about to walk out the door, Rav Cheskel Levenstein looked at Rav Wolbe and he said, if you really believed it, then you wouldn't have to say more than that. Meaning, if it's not about saying lots of things. Kol amar b'lesaper, whoever says the story the most. But it also means whoever says it. There's a marbe b'kamus, saying lots of words, and there's a marbe be'echos. There's a marbe where if a person says something that comes straight from an honest place, it doesn't have to be more than one or two words. Just a second ago, I think everyone sitting in this room just experienced that. If it's coming from an honest place, and it's coming from a place of struggling to get it out, and it's real, 2 words is enough. The entire redemption of the Jewish people in Mitzrayim owes itself to 2 words. And it's a peculiar, it's a whole sugya, this discussion. The Rishonim deal with it, the Achronim deal with it, the Hasidic masters deal with it. Everybody knows this, right? Pakod Pakadati, the secret password that the Geula has come. Pakod Pakadati. Whoever comes and says the secret password, Pakod Pakadati, is the Redeemer. That he's the one who's going to announce the redemption. So the Ramban already asked this question. He says, if everybody knows the secret password, then it's not a very good password. Anybody could just come and say Pakod Pakadati. That's what Moshe Rabbeinu says when he comes to redeem them. Tell them, Hashem says, tell them, Pakod Pakadati. I've remembered them and I'm coming to redeem them. 2 words. So if everybody's, the Rambam on that passage, if everybody knows Pakod Pakadati, then that's not a very effective password. And if nobody knows it, so then some guy's going to come and he's going to say, Pakod Pakadati, the secret password of the redemption. They're going to be like, yeah, whatever you, like, sure. I don't know what you're talking about. So the Ramban has a very clever way of dealing with this. The Ramban says, well, not everybody knew it, right? It was like Jewish mysticism on a certain level, It was like there was a core group of elders carefully guarding the secret, none of whom would dare utter the words pakod pakadati at penalty of death, amongst themselves, for saying pakod pakadati without actually having heard it from Hashem. Like a Navi Sheker. If a Navi Sheker comes and says, God told me to say something, so only certain people are in the club of even being shaykh to being Naviim. There was a core group of people who knew this secret password of pakod pakadati, and nobody would dare say it. Now, when Moshe comes as an outsider and says it, that's like, wow. Moshe grew up in the palace of Paro. How does he know the secret password? That was a big deal. But Rav Tzadok HaKohen of Lublin has a different answer. He says, Lulei de Mistafina, if I wasn't afraid to go against one of the Gedolei HaRishonim, he said, maybe everybody knew pakod pakadati. And this is the main thing. Everything else is just icing on top. This is the main thing that I want to share right now, tonight. Everybody knew the password, pakod pakadati. But in the same way that a person can stand up and say, I believe in Hashem to their children. And if they don't, their children know it. They could say lots of words, big fancy shiurim. But if they don't really believe in Hashem, then Shemayim Misaprim Kvod Kel. You don't need a mouth to be able to say the honor of God. Your children know if you believe in Hashem. My children know if I believe in Hashem, and they see every detail. Our students, our friends, it's clear. The words are necessary. I'm not saying the words they're not. Human beings crave to be able to get it out, to say words. But when it's an expression of something that you really believe inside, it starts a revolution. Everybody knew pakod pakadati. But only when Moshe Rabbeinu said it and really believed it because he heard it from Hashem, was there any chance of that penetrating the minds and the hearts of the Jewish people. The entire avoda of Pesach is to just get across one or two words. It's not, say this at your Seder when there's someone who's giving like a 25-minute Dvar Torah, and be like, pakod, just scream out, pakod pakadati, and like jump under the table or something, I don't know, just throw them on it's not about so many words. And sometimes it is about that. Sometimes it's about saying a lot of words so you can get to one or two that are actually real. Right? I speak about this a lot in the context of speaking about tefillah, which is a passion of mine. One of the first book that I wrote was on tefillah. And we have to daven like hundreds of tefillos, maybe thousands of tefillos, before we like actually get one that we're like, oh, that was a real one. A very clever coinage that I heard. I want to say it, Shem Amar. I just have to remember who I heard it from. I'll remember it in a moment. But a very clever coinage that I heard a number of years ago is somebody referred to certain type of davening as junk food prayers. Everyone recognizes there's a difference between Rabbi Breidowitz, who does the question answer. So I had an opportunity to sit with him with a bunch of my students, and we were speaking about some matters, and he's the one who coined junk food prayers, which I thought was a wonderful turn of phrase. And he said that, in the same way that a person can eat food, or, and this is more my wife's domain than Rabbi Breidowitz's coinage, food-like substances. That's what she's like. Food-like substances. It's like you're not sure how to pronounce some of the words, and it's food-like, but it's not exactly food. And yet, a person can sustain themselves on junk food. You could live for quite a long time on junk food. I think like for those who are preparing for the apocalypse and in their basement they have it's junk food basically. I mean, it's not like no one would actually eat that as a normal diet. It's like heavy carbs. Like really very caloric, rich, dense foods. Like that's not food. It's food like substance that will keep you alive for a long time. But when you get a nourishing meal, when you eat real food, and you're like, oh, that's what real food is. In the realm of speech, in the realm of prayer, sometimes a person says thousands of words, thousands of tefillos, thousands of shacharis, minchas, and marivs, just to get to one honest word, one true word. And I'm not making light of the thousands of junk food prayers, because that's what you need. you got to do what you got to do to get it out there. But sometimes you meet a person, or sometimes you find a project where pakod pakadati, it's just enough. It doesn't have to be so long-winded. It doesn't have to be so many words. Just saying it like it is. Tell them that you believe in God, and they'll believe you. They'll know. This inyan of emunah and its expression as being truthful related to speech. So, just a few things that relate to Pesach. The very first daf of Masechet Pesachim. 30 days before the holiday, you're supposed to start preparing. We're well underway. On a certain level, the very opening lines of a Masechta sort of try to capture something of the depth of the Yom Tov. Pesachim begins with a discussion about B'dikat Chametz, checking for Chametz. And I'm not going to go through the whole Sugya B'Iyan right now, but I will go through B'Kiyas B'Iyan, just very quickly. The very first Tosfos on Daf Beis Amud Aleph in Pesachim asks a very simple and obvious question, which is, this is the first Mishnah, the first thing you need to know about Pesachim, about Pesach, is you got to check for Chametz on Erev Pesach. Orla Arbasar, Bodkin Es HaChametz, Bodek Chametz, B'dikat Chametz. And Tosfos says, I don't understand this whole B'dikas Chametz business. Why are we checking for Chametz? It is totally sufficient to do an act of Bittul Chametz. Bittul Chametz means that I stand in my house, like we all do after checking, and our clothes are like, soot stained with like all the stuff that like gets under that you didn't get to during the year. My wife and I once found an earring. That was like the best B'dikas Chametz ever. We found an earring that she had lost, and it was like, there's always, sometimes you get like a good one, which is like you find like Cheerios in an unexpected space. That's like one good type of B'dikas Chametz. That feels really good. But then there's also like you find like you find some. My kids always find some toy that was missing. So at the end of all that, we're standing there, and what does everybody say? We say, all of the chametz that's in my possession that I don't know about. Tomorrow we'll say what I do and I don't know about. Kol chamir v'chamir de'ika b'reshusi is batel behefker ka'afar da'ara. It is nullified like the dust of the earth, right? Guess what? That's totally sufficient. That is all you have to do. All you have to, don't tell, Mida Oraisa, you don't have to clean a thing. All you have to do is you have to say, all of the chametz that is in my possession is hefker ka'afar da'ara. It is like dust of the earth. I have no relationship with it. It is hefker. If somebody came into my house right now and took it, I don't care about it. And then it's no longer yours. And you are not over Mida Oraisa, bal yiro bal yimatzeh. That's it. That's the whole thing. Could save ourselves hours and hours of cleaning and even on the night of the 14th, just hours. So Tosfos asks this question. Tosfos says, well, yes, but because chametz is ubiquitous, because chametz is something which is always everywhere in our life, and it's not like, non-kosher food in general, it's like you see something that's not kosher, there's sort of like this disgust, reaction that you have to it, even though that's maybe not ideal, but that's, we have this disgust, like, I would never. Chametz, like yesterday, I was eating pretzels, today I was eating pita, tomorrow I'm eating pizza, all of a sudden Pesach, I'm going to pretend like, ooh, it's like, that's not going to work. So, it's true, bittul is enough, but we're afraid that absent-mindedly, come on, you all been there, in the middle of the night, you're going to wake up, it's going to be like 3 a.m, and you're going to like be looking for something to eat, and you're going to like, and you're not going to have that natural disgust instinct. And so, if it's just in your house, even if you're already making it hefker, and it's not yours, it's really not yours, you're going to end up popping it in your mouth. And after all, Tosfos gives the second answer, which is, there's an issue of kares, it's a pretty serious isser to eat chametz. That's Tosfos. The other Rishonim, and this is a different constellation of Rishonim, but they all say the same thing in somewhat different ways. Rabbeinu Peretz, the Or Zarua, they all say this vart of Rav Tzadok on the first daf of Pesachim. They say it's really easy to say that all of the chametz in your possession is ownerless and like the dust of the earth. But you don't believe that. You don't believe that for a second. It's easy to say the words, but to really get into that head and heart space of really meaning the few words that you're saying, all you have to say is, it's all hefker. Don't want any of it. But to feel that takes a lot of work. To feel the words that you're saying in such few words really takes tremendous amount of work. Every time we're cleaning our houses and putting yellow tape or red tape around different areas, like this area's been quarantined off, from like chametz and no bring chametz. Every act of doing that is preparing us so that when we say finally those words, it's all hefker, there's a good chance that we might actually mean it. Anybody could say pakod pakadati, God has remembered us and He's saving us, but good luck trying to create a revolution and getting everyone to believe that without actually meaning it. Anybody could say, all of my chametz is hefker, but good luck actually meaning that unless you've put in hours of cleaning and trying to get rid of every vestige of chametz in your house. It's just going to ring hollow if it's not coming from a place deep inside of you. And that brings me to the final point here, and we could do iterations of this, but maybe we'll pause also. If absolutely necessary, we could do a second round after, there's more. Emunah in general, being redeemed, I started with Emunah talking about this revolvi. Just tell them that you believe in God. Tell them there's a God. And they'll know it. Because you really believe it. And if you don't believe it, then work it out. So that you actually believe it. So that when you say the words, friends, I want to tell you, the story about the Rav Levi Yitzchak of Berditcher, that he one time came into the Beis Medrash and he did a clap on the bima, and he was wearing his talis, and everyone was like, shh, he said something very important. And he said, Chevra, I just want to remind you that there's a God who created the heavens and the earth. And he walked out. But because he really believed it, it was like, pfft, right? The story about the Rebbe Reb Zusha, that when he would sit in Shir, and the Maggid of Mezrich would say the words, I'm learning now Sefer Vayikra with my son, and every few words, it's true of a lot of Chumash, but in Vayikra specifically, every few psukim is Vayedaber Hashem el Moshe Leimu. Right? And when Reb Zusha would sit in Shir with the Maggid of Mezrich, and the Maggid would say, Vayedaber Adonai el Moshe Leimor, Reb Zusha would jump out of his seat and start grabbing the other students by the lapel of their shirt and say, did you hear what he just said? God spoke to humans. And he would run over and he would grab everyone and they would start cracking up to the crowd. Reb Zusha is nuts, And the Maggid of Mezrich said, if you really believed just those words, Vayedaber Hashem el Moshe Leimor, then I didn't have to give the shir anymore. You'd read the Kitzur Shulchan Aruch, you'd know what to do, and that's it. And you'd be living in this awareness of Vayedaber Hashem el Moshe Leimor, and your every action would be connected to Hashem. But because we haven't really worked on ourselves to the place of being able to believe the few words that we say, so we have to have thousands and thousands of shiurim. And now we've even developed a way of having one earbud in our ear, like while we're washing the dishes or walking or going on the treadmill or preparing a dinner. Or whatever. Thousands and thousands and millions of words to just get to that one place of tzaddik be'emunaso yichya. To get to the place of being a tzaddik who actually believes in the things that we're saying. And we need it. I'm not saying we don't need it. We need lots of medicine in our generation. Lots and lots and lots of shiurim to listen to. But that's not the goal. And reading this Haggadah made me remember the goal. The goal is, pakod pakadati is enough. If you work on it, and if your actions are speaking the honor of God, then you don't need a mouth, like the heaven doesn't need a mouth. And Baruch Hashem, you have a mouth, and you should be able to use the mouth. And Baruch Hashem, I have a mouth, and I should be able to use my mouth. And Baruch Hashem, we have mouths, and we should be able to use our mouths. But that's not the goal. The goal is to get to something that's beyond getting it out, it's getting it in. It's getting it in. It's trying to feel something inside. And a Haggadah like this, a project like this, and he's going to kill me for doing this, but a project like what you're doing, that the words that we're saying should actually resonate something inside. That we should be able to feel the words that we're saying for real. So, there's a piece, it's hard for me to speak without quoting Rav Kook at some point. The Makos, Datzach, Adash Ve'achav, shorter and shorter and shorter. Let's get it shorter and shorter. That's the Indian of the, not so many words. Let's crunch it and crunch it and crunch it. So listen to this teaching from Rav Kook. And with this I'll come to a close. Or at least a temporary close. Rav Kook, in his Sefer Einaya, which is his commentary to Masechet Brachot, his elaborations on the Haggadahs of Masechet Brachos. So he has a long passage here. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I do want to read a few of the words. Where the Gemara is addressing the halacha that when somebody says a bracha, when someone makes a bracha over food or drink, Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam shehakol niya b'dvaro. When you make a bracha, says the Gemara, greater are the ones who say Amen than the one who made the bracha. And that's certainly true here tonight. It was true before I made the bracha, but it's true in general. Greater is the one who said Amen than the one who made the bracha. Not only that, but the Gemara says a halacha, that the one who says the bracha sets the level of how loud the response should be. You know, there's got to be someone sitting here who has a pet peeve of somebody in shul who like screams, you know, amen, or, you know, screams, and it's like, so the, you know, the halacha is, barring exceptions, you know, some people just can't help themselves, gesundheit, but the simple halacha is that you're supposed to, at least when someone's making a bracha over food or something, you're supposed to taper the volume and the exuberance of the bracha, that the person saying Amen shouldn't say Amen louder than the person making the bracha. That's the halacha. And Rav Kook wants to know what that's about. Why is that? So I'm just going to read a few lines here. Rav Kook says, Habrachos, the concept of brachot in general, shenemros b'lashon d'chlei hadibor. Making a bracha is something that a person does with the klei hadibor, with the tools that are called the mouth. Tzarich ha'adam lahakir tzad hadibor shebehem, kehein hechsher v'kli lahara pnimis lahakara amitis shetava al yidei hadibor. The purpose of the bracha, the goal of the bracha, is that by using the tool of speech to make a declaration about God created everything with His word, or God created the apple with the you know, He created the apple from the ground, from the tree. Bor Pri'etz, Bor Pri'adam, Bor Pri'agafim, Hamotzi Lechman Arts. All these brachos. The goal of the brachos is that somehow the klei hadibor, the tools of the mouth, should awaken within a person a hakara pnimis, something that's an inner recognition of the truth, hamitis, shetavo ayidei hadibur, that comes through the speech. In other words, if the speech doesn't elicit some inner response, then it was simply performative, but it wasn't really, you didn't get to the essence of the idea. And then says Rav Kook, that's why the person who says Amen is greater than the person who made the bracha. And the language is beautiful. Kedai ma'od, for another time. Rav Kook says that when a person says, Baruch atah Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam shehakol niya b'dvaro, or niya b'dvaro, depends on here. When a person makes that bracha, they had to use so many words to express the feeling of the idea that Hashem created the whole world and everything in it. How about the person who could just say the word Amen, and all they needed to say was the word Amen, was able to express, I agree with that feeling that you're trying to create in less words, and that's ideal. Rav Kook quotes a Gemara in Masechah Shabbos that says that Amen is a contraction in its own right. It stands for Kel Melech Ne'eman. Kel Melech Ne'eman. God is a trustworthy king. He wants good for us. And Rav Kook says the reason why Amen is contracted is because the shorter the better. If it were possible not to say anything, that would be the best. If it were possible to get to, it's not possible. It's not possible. And so the little fits and starts of trying to say something that we're all going through, and the tremendous koach that Eitan obviously put into putting this together, and yes, for sure, and the other contributors too, for sure. And of course, he's one of the contributors.
Okay.
The fits and starts of trying to get something out. Because really what we're trying to do is we're trying to contract it into as small, as little, just tell them that you believe in God. And really mean it, and that's all that you need to do. The word Amen is, you don't even have to say Kel Melech Ne'eman. You certainly don't have to say Baruch Hashem Elokeinu melech haolam asher kiddushanu b'zeh tzivot. Like, you don't have to go through a whole thing. Amen is the most powerful thing. Because you're expressing the feeling in less. And for me, at least, in this new revelation that you're bringing to the world, this is, for me personally, and can be for all of us, a pakod pakarti, a feeling of we don't need to say so much. The Divrei Torah in here are short and beautiful. And a short and beautiful and truly felt Dvar Torah is the thing that brings a person to this feeling of Hashem has remembered me. Hashem is thinking about the Jewish people. Hashem has not forgotten the Jewish people, and especially now. I mentioned that also. That especially now, when the Jewish people sometimes feel forgotten, and we sometimes, because we're so busy, sometimes forget other Jewish people who we cannot forget for a moment. It's little moments. It's the little note that's hanging in my house on one of the on one of the Aron Sfarim that my children will sometimes, and it's the most precious moments in the world, where they'll get into bed and then they'll be like, "Ooh, I forgot to say the names of the soldiers and/or hostages who we're davening for," and "Oh, I forgot," and they come out and they just say those few words, and it's like Pakod Pakarti, they haven't forgotten, and if they're not forgetting, then Hashem doesn't forget. And in those short, tiny little words, it's possible for a person to descend into the deepest depths. And in that way, I want to end by thanking Eitan for letting me in on this little secret that he's revealing to the world. To thank all of you for joining us here tonight for this momentous occasion of the launch on some level of this Haggadah. And obviously to Binyamin, Rayato, and the entire family for inviting me to share some words of Torah here. It's a real pleasure to be here, and I hope that we get to do it again soon. Thanks, Hashem.
Thank you. Wow, well, I'm speechless. I'm going to stand just because I can't really see anybody in the back, and I don't know if everybody can see me. There's seats here if anybody wants to come up. Okay, so first I'm going to say Shechianu. Thank you all for coming. There really are no words, so it's really just thank you. First and foremost to HaKadosh Baruch Hu to getting us to this point. It was a dream and something that I thought about, that I knew could possibly work, but never thought that it would actually work. And it was only because of the one above and so many people that were involved, some who are sitting in this room, Vinny and Uri, Rav Uri, and Miriam. and a whole bunch of other people. Anyone listening, you know who you are, so thank you. But mostly also back to the Pakod Pakadati, it's also that we started with something. There were so many blips and so many things that could have prevented us from persevering. And it is these people that kept saying, no, you could do it. And no, I haven't forgotten you and you could do it. And just keep going. And call her one more time. And no, she could do it shorter. And no, she can condense it more. And no, and it really, really in the middle of a war. And like you said, may all of our learning tonight and all of your learning forward go to the refuah of all of the chayalim that have been wounded, everyone who needs a refuah, for the return of all of our hostages, and for the safety and strength of all Am Yisrael. But it really is a true miracle. So thank you. So I just want to start by telling you a little bit about what happened and how we started this and how this came to be, and then how we're going to use it. And I'm not going to dray because I know Eitan's on his way out soon. So 6.5 years ago, Eitan suffered a massive left-sided ischemic stroke. Eitan was back then a CrossFit instructor, a super heavy weightlifter, a MADA paramedic, volunteer paramedic. He had his own business, and he gave regular shiurim in shul in Surah D'Rabbanan. He did 2 cycles of Daf Yomi. He learned for the Rabbanut, and he was a father of 4. Now, Baruch Hashem, we have a daughter-in-law. And he was just very active in our community, very active in life, very fun. And Pitom, one would say Shabbat, we were supposed to go away on vacation the following day. I heard some noises downstairs and found Eitan on the floor unconscious. There were no signs of a stroke. If you know the signs of stroke, it's be fast. You could look it up afterwards, know them, because the stroke can happen at any time, any place, and anywhere. But he did not have any face drooping. He did not have any balance issues. The only sign he had was a headache. He went to lie down, and he did a class that evening, and then lo and behold, I found him in the middle of the night. The doctors saw when we got to the ER that he had 2 massive brain bleeds, brain clots, and torn carotid artery. And because of that, he had a massive amount of brain damage on the left side of his brain, which, if you know the brain mirrors. So the damage is on the left side, and the damage to his body was on the right side. So he lost the use of his right arm. He has hemiparesis on his right side, so he's in pain a lot of the time. He cannot walk long distances, so in here he's fine with his cane. Outside he uses a kalmali, just like a scooter. And he has neurofatigue, which means that just by listening to Rav Dovid'l for half an hour now, he's used more brain cells than all of us have put together in this room. And he's ready for me to just stop talking so we can go, but that's not gonna happen, so hang in there. So that's neurofatigue. And he lost pretty much all of his memory pre-stroke, which includes Torah that he has learned. There are no words to describe that amount of frustration. Eitan really had to relearn everything.
It's gone, Kilo.
Tell us.
It's gone.
Yeah, and I'm sure you have questions, so you could definitely ask the questions. No question is a bad question. You get all the questions, and we'll answer all of them. But he really had to start at the beginning, and until we realized that he didn't have any memory, we also had to start figuring out how we were going to teach him what he had lost. So we printed all the pictures and everything else. And so with our children together, he has gotten a little bit back through what we have told him. He recognizes faces if he's had close connections to that person, but not what he did with those people. So the experience is sort of being lost. Does he remember me? And that's what we're all thinking. He says no, I says yes, because I'm hard to forget. So I'm gonna go with that he does remember who I But if he looks at wedding pictures, nothing's really there. But he does recognize like his grandmother or his mother, or, people in the albums. On top of that, Eitan has something called aphasia.
Who knows aphasia?
Does anyone know what aphasia is? Except Uri, and you, because you read the book. I'm just kidding. Okay, so this is great. This is what happens when we're in most everywhere. We also did not know what aphasia was when Eitan had the stroke. Some of us had heard about aphasia, but we actually did not know what the ramifications of that, of living with aphasia was. And so we had to learn it by living it. And slowly we found out that our community did not know what it was either. I'm not going to go into the whole thing. There are many different types of aphasia. You can go onto our website, eitan.com, and you can learn about it. There's also many other websites that you can go onto. There's many different types of aphasia. Some people have words like Eitan. Some people don't have any words. Some people have sounds. Some people have words, but the words that they're saying don't make sense in the context of the conversation. Eitan has something called Broca's aphasia, which affected the Broca area of the brain. Eitan has words, but he can't get the words out. So he understands everything that's going on, unless he's super, super tired, then no. But he understands what's going on. He just cannot respond in the way that we all do. So he thinks, I call it the glitch. He thinks about something, by the time it gets here there's like when you have like a sheka and it's like that, it's like disconnected. And so sometimes, Eitan read this page. Now, Dovid'l, you were sort of following along, right? And whatever I'm saying here, we've sort of like done this whole talk together. So Eitan knows what I'm going to say. So anything I'm saying is not offending Eitan. Okay, so just bear that in mind. When he read this, was he reading it correctly? Don't lie. This is it's a teaching experience.
He read a lot of it correctly, but some of it was.
Yes, some of it was not. So, for example, he said, it says here, it is hard for me to speak, read, and write. So he read, it's hard for me to write and speak and then read, or something like that. He didn't read it correctly. Yeah, see, he didn't know that. In his mind, he's reading, and sometimes not. The last time that he did this, he wrote, it says here, the doctors didn't think I would live, and Eitan read, the doctors didn't think I would survive, which is the same thing. He read live, out came survive, which is important to know also, because when you're talking to somebody with aphasia, you have to have a lot of patience. If you don't have patience, don't come and have a conversation with the person. Okay, so he has aphasia. Aphasia can affect reading, writing, speech, reading, writing, and comprehension. Eitan can read headlines. He can read words in bold. What we did is partner reading, which I'll get to soon. Out loud reading is a lot harder than reading to himself. Sometimes Eitan will take an iPad and listen to Audible and follow, even though he doesn't love to do it. He can do it, but it takes a lot of brain power to do. Writing, the only thing he can really write is, what can you write really well?
Signing.
Signature.
Signature.
Okay, why can you write a signature really well? Because that's something that he did before, over and over and over and over and over. And I believe that it's sort of like music, which is on the other side of the brain, which is something that you do repetitively. It might not be, but that's my theory on the signature. For example, in the hospital, we were playing X and O's. Anytime he wanted to make an X, it would come out as like a squiggle. So it's also the sort of the same thing as the speech. There's sort of like a disconnect when you want to get it out. So how does somebody communicate with somebody like Eitan. Now, none of you knew what aphasia was. How many of you know what Parkinson's is? Mostly everybody, right? Or you've heard of Parkinson's. Aphasia affects more people than Parkinson's. Now we know about Parkinson's because of yes, that. Now Bruce Willis has entered the scene about aphasia, so we're getting there. But it's our job to spread the word. And a lot of people, why don't a lot of people know about aphasia? I can't hear you.
Because they can't express themselves.
They can't express themselves. They can't speak. Sorry, what's your name? Bela. Thank you, Bela. They can't express themselves. So if they can't speak, how are they supposed to advocate for themselves?
Yeah.
Most strokes, not most, but a lot of the strokes happen in older people. Older people don't have a lot of the gumption like younger people. And there's one other factor.
Likely that people don't think that they know what's going on in their minds, even though they understand in their mind, but it's not coming out, so they kind of ignore them thinking that they don't know what's going on.
Okay, go a little bit further. Look at Eitan. Eitan's a
They-
good-looking dude.
Right.
You can't. What can't you? You can't.
See.
You can't see it. And if you can't see it, it's not there, right? If you didn't take that selfie, it didn't happen. You don't see it, it's not here. And if you don't see it, you ignore it. And so that's what we've learned with this. And there are so many people that are challenged with it. And it's not just with aphasia. There are so many people challenged with so many different language and speech and communication challenges or impairments that we don't see, that we don't know. And it's our job. And there's also people challenged with so many other things that we can't see on the inside. And it's our job to learn about what people are going through so that we can interact with them and we can include them more. This, by doing this, so Koach Eitan was started when Eitan had a stroke. We created this Facebook page just to update everybody. And slowly after we raised money for the Adler Center for Aphasia and everybody else, we decided with a lot of other people to create our own organization, and within that organization try to not only support and give support to those going through it and their families, because there is not a lot of that. The Adler Center does a wonderful job for people with aphasia, and they have different groups in Jerusalem, but for the families, there isn't a lot of guidance. And so we felt that it was important, and we get outreach from all over the world. Eitan, after about 4 years of us trying to learn, we also started to see that within Eitan's life that was all about Torah and Judaism, something was missing and something was lacking. And he wouldn't go to shul because he was embarrassed. And he wouldn't go out because nobody knew, nobody understood. And so he sort of felt like a lot of shame and chaval. So, like, think about a Shabbat table, for example. You guys are going to learn a lot about aphasia on your own, but just one thing. In Judaism, so much revolves around speech, language, and food. Yeah? On Shabbat, what do? We sit around this table, and what do?
Yeah.
And talk and talk. Everybody comes home. It's the one time a week that everybody wants to get what they said out. And then what happens? Is there one person talking at a time?
No.
Not usually. There's usually a lot of cross conversation. Somebody with aphasia cannot handle that. They cannot handle so many people talking at once. You spoke about the people in shul who love to daven out loud, and that's in shul. There's a lot of people. You have the out loud daveners, you got the other daveners, you got the mumblers, and it's not annoying, but it's hard for somebody with aphasia to concentrate, to get there. And what if that person can't read what they're saying? What if that person in the silent Shemona Esrei doesn't know what to do with themselves because they can't read? And their focus is shot. A lot of people with aphasia don't have a lot of attention span. And so I needed to figure out how to do this. And so through a very back end story, we met Rav Johnny Solomon, who lives in Evan Shmuel down south, and he is a rabbi, spiritual coach, and through the grace of God, we met him. And Hashem brings a lot of shlichim whenever you need them, and he was brought to us right at the right moment. And Eitan started to work with him. Eitan had a lot of questions, mainly about how can Hashem just strip somebody of everything, but then leave them here? Why? I didn't have those answers. And Rav Johnny, right, and yeah, that's religion. A lot of questions about religion. When Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur come, that's heavy. You know what, we all daven, it's heavy. And you take somebody who learned, who gave, who did, why? And there's no answers. And we're all going through so much now. And there's, you said, Vayidaber Moshe, Hashem al Moshe. And I was actually thinking about it yesterday. I was, I put my tape on and I say, I don't understand. It's 186 days. You have not linatek from us for so long, in such a long time. I don't understand. But it's not he's still there. Hashem is still there, but it is. And I was thinking, when are we gonna have that Vayidaber? I don't know. But if we keep on doing, I'm there. And Bezrat Hashem, we will have that Geula soon. But Eitan and his religion, so Rav Johnny came. Rav Johnny didn't care that he had never heard about aphasia. He didn't care. Came, and they spoke about everything under the sun. No other rabbi really was able to do that until then, and we're so grateful that he did. And he started to work with Eitan before Purim 2 years ago, and right after Purim, Rav Johnny, and every Chag brings with it a lot of down. If any of you have gone through loss, and I mean we're all going through loss now, just think about this Chag that's coming up. It's bringing us a lot of down, and we all want to be up. He said to Eitan, so Purim was not great, let's just put it that way. Then he came for he said, what are you doing Pesach? What are you doing for the Seder? And what did you say?
Upstairs.
He's going to be upstairs in his room. And why? What happens on a Seder? Once again,
Yeah.
you're talking, you're reading, you're discussing, you're remembering all things that Eitan has trouble doing. And Rav Johnny said, bring me your Haggadah. So Eitan brought him, or I brought him, because Eitan was so I brought him the Haggadah. And in Eitan's Haggadah, I don't know if you could see, but Eitan's, I don't know, there's, like I said, the out loud daveners. There's also the learners who write all over their Sfarim. So we have a lot of, we're blessed because we have a lot of Torah from Eitan all over his Sfarim. He has a lot of Perushim all over. So we got him this. And Eitan also had a whole entire Google Docs of Seder, because he would make us send in our Divrei Torah, all the kids and us, and he would put it all in the Google Docs, so everybody knew when everybody was saying everything, so we all had a whole thing. So Rav Johnny had a lot of homework, and he said, great, I want to take it, and I'm going to see what I'm going to do with it. And he took it, and then he developed this. Eitan and Rav Johnny sat together. They took out 11 thoughts and ideas, and they combined them into a little Haggadah supplement. This was our Haggadah 2 years ago. Every commentary or whatever thing was not more than 3 sentences and very bold. Eitan had one like this. We printed them out smaller, whoever wanted smaller, and everybody got one around the table. And what happened? Eitan's voice was brought to life. It was a game changer. Eitan was present. Eitan was there because he felt included.
Yeah.
And before Pesach, we had sent this to a bunch of different people, and the feedback that we got was overwhelming and also quite shocking. Because when you're involved in something, you sort of tend to not see, the outside reaction. People that, kids that never, were active at their Seder had something to read. grandparents that never got a word in edgewise because their grandchildren took the floor, got a word in. Why? Because it's really short, it's really expiring, and it's really easy to understand. We had someone who has dyslexia, same thing. It wasn't overwhelming, and they shared. And so we decided, okay, we're gonna have to do something. I'm not gonna go into the whole thing, but we decided to ask other people that are challenged with different speech and language challenges to contribute. And to make it all inclusive, we also asked different rabbis and rabbaniot. And now that you're a friend of ours, Bezrat Hashem, in our next project, you'll be included. So these are all the people in the back. We also included voices that are not with us anymore, Ari Folds and Maya D.
And Roy.
And Roy's also in there. So it is just something that just became an amazing, amazing project. And like I said before, and like Rev Dovid'l said, they're short. It was not an easy task. When you ask somebody to contribute and they're used to giving like a whole thing, and how do you take those 400 words and condense them into 70? So it was a lot of work on their part, on our part, and thank God they all rolled with it and they were all amazing. The Haggadah, so this is how the Haggadah came to be. Koach Eitan also, again, you can go on our website. We are doing a lot of different projects within the realms of Judaism to teach others in all different communities how to include more people, not just with aphasia, with other challenges, disabilities, etc. Last year we had the World Shabbat Aphasia, and we also put out a halachic guide for aphasia and disability. How to get an aliyah, how to, all these different questions that arise. The Haggadah starts off with the Seder inclusion tools that was really brainstormed with Harav Uri Schneider sitting here, which teaches and gives tools on how to include anyone at your table that may or may not feel included and you would like to include them more, and you can read them. The partner reading, I forget which number it is, but that's what I did with Eitan here, okay? And that is how we read this together also. Eitan follows, I follow, Eitan follows, and we read together. And that's a teamwork, but it works, and if you learn it a little bit before, it's fantastic. Because the person also just feels like they're doing it, right? Yeah. The Haggadah, okay, these are the commentaries. Are they long?
No.
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 They're short?
Yeah.
What else are they?
Big.
They're big font,
big.
clear font. Every time that we did something, Eitan was the tester.
Yes.
So for Eitan, and we know that's not going to help everybody, but we hope that even those who wear glasses like me don't have to squint to see anything. The icons. These are the icons for the Seder Leil Pesach, so you don't have to actually read
And also,
these. And Eitan's favorite page, show them.
This is cool.
The Seder
That
instruction
yeah.
icons. There's icons when you lean,
Yeah.
uncover the matzah,
Unbelievable.
first cup, second cup, open the door, close the door, all there. And I think I covered everything. Oh, and this font is also very big. And
Oh.
the last thing,
Yeah.
okay, show that. Do the pages flip?
Nope.
No. Okay. Did you all see the cover? What do you see on the cover? Those of you who know, don't say. Or you know where I'm going with this, don't say.
Candle, wind.
I can't hear you.
Candle, wind, candle.
Candle! You're the second person that said candle. I love that.
There's a face.
Who said face? Who doesn't see the face?
We're there.
Does everybody see the face now? Who didn't see the face?
Don't be
Okay,
shy.
fine. Okay, there's always somebody who doesn't see the face. The face is hidden within the sea of Mitzrayim. And we did that purposely because, like I said, you can't see the aphasia. So that is our Haggadah. And now, to end off, I just want to read with Eitan one commentary. It's Moshe of a few words. Okay. Wait. Can you hear? Okay.
When Moshe commanded by God to take the Jewish people out of Egypt, he said, I am no man of words. However, tonight you read how Moshe let Jewish people slavery, freedom, and shows us even though women words you achieve great things.
There you go. There's your pakod pakadati right there. And I didn't even know that you were before that. And if there was ever somebody who could achieve anything, it's this miracle sitting right here. And we just hope that all of you are inspired by his Torah and by everyone who contributed to Torah. And we hope that you will learn a little bit more and take it and pass it on, because that is truly life-saving. So thank you for coming, because just by sitting here, you are truly saving lives. And you don't ever know when you will meet somebody who will need what you know. And really just thank you, and we wish you all a Chag Sameach. And we're here for whatever you need. And if anybody has any questions, we would love to answer them. Don't be embarrassed. All questions. Uri, did I not say anything? Did I miss anything? Do you want to add anything?
I think that it's like beyond aphasia. That like in any classroom, 20% of the kids have some kind of language learning challenge. So at your Seder table, a pretty good chance. If you have 5 people at the table, somebody's got some language learning thing.
Yeah.
And then you just take into account that most people don't understand Hebrew either. So you definitely have some language communication things going on. So this can really be a tool to help. And there's no time more poignant than Leil HaSeder of really making sure that everyone's at the table.
Yeah.
And not just that they're at the table, but like Dovid'l said, the table's in them. They got a seat. They have a mic. They have a part to play. So there's also ways for the leader of the Seder to make sure that everybody has a role, whatever their abilities, whatever their challenges, because we want to make sure at the end of the night, everybody feels like that was the Seder for me.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. The feedback that we've gotten also is just everybody wants it because it's short. It's the bottom line. But
It's the Twitter Haggadah.
What?
It's the Twitter Haggadah.
It's the Twitter Haggadah.
Yeah.
Questions? Sure. What's your name?
My name is Eli Konigsberg. Nice to meet you. Thank you very much for sharing your story. I can't imagine having to go through losing all those years of memories, but do you have the ability to form new memories?
Do you remember Adiel's wedding?
Oh yes. No.
So that's what I say. New memories.
Oh no.
So you don't. So okay. So he remembers. Okay. So our son got married. That's why I asked him. His short-term memory is not great.
Yeah.
Long-term memory is not great.
Yeah.
But he does remember the wedding. Maybe not every single iota of the wedding, but yes, not to the degree that he doesn't remember our wedding, right? Last Shabbat, I don't know what happened last Shabbat. Oh, Adiel and Eva came, right? You remember that?
Yeah.
So he remembers that.
Right.
But the longer time passes,
Right.
the less. So it is definitely hard.
Stinks, kiddo. It's not.
Yeah. But there definitely are. Like there are, the bigger picture of the said memory is there. I believe.
I think.
The brain is funny in that sense. Yeah. Like Eitan also can remember how to get everywhere
Oh yeah.
in this country.
Right.
I'm
That's true.
directionless.
Yeah, no, that is true.
And even in a hospital, he can remember how to get to the floor that we need to be on. And I'm like, I don't understand how you remember that. So that's something, it's not a memory per se, because that's, I guess, a direction or mapping, but that he can remember. Experiences are harder.
Yeah.
Which makes it a bit more painful. Yeah. Yeah, look, Ari Fold was one of Eitan's best friends, and he doesn't have a lot of memories with him, even though there are countless memories with him, and so that is painful. It's painful when he can't remember his grandparents or those, that is painful, but again, he's a trooper and he's
Yeah.
amazing. So he's constantly building new experiences to
Yeah.
hold on to.
Yeah.
And then there's the famous story with Shaul
What did I
and the
do?
gum.
Oh yeah,
famous story of Shaul and the gum.
yeah.
Shaul came to
No,
visit,
sir.
and Eitan, all of a sudden, he said something. Shaul and Eitan go way back, and his families used to go on trips, and so Eitan has like flits, and it's literally like out of a movie. And so they were talking about going on a tiyul, and then all of a sudden Eitan goes, "Oh yeah, mastik alma." I don't know who's been in Israel for a long time. There used to be gum in a yellow wrapper that was mastik alma. I guess they must have had it on a tiyul. I don't know.
I don't remember anymore.
I don't know.
There are
And
way
then-
too many TLA.
And today Mark said you have to Rolos. And
Yeah.
He had
Rolos
a
also.
memory of Rolos.
Yeah.
So there are memories that that do come out from time to time, and that's
Yeah.
a bracha. It's
Yeah.
amazing when that happens. Yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
Any other questions?
What's next?
Pardon me?
What's next?
So we are working on the Hebrew version, and we are also, Be'ezrat Hashem, going to be working on something for Yom Kippur. Firstly, the bracha that you make for your children before Yom Kippur. There's that long bracha that Eitan cannot say, so we're going to do it more often. And then the Machzor Yom Kippur, which now we have more people to get involved. There's a lot of silent prayer. There's the whole avoda and musaf, and that is a big turnoff for Eitan. He just gets really frustrated. Yom Kippur also, there are songs, and if you're like, I'm Sephardi, the Makor, so I finally get to know the Ashkenaz tunes, and then what happens? They do a new tune, and I was like, no, I finally know this tune, and it's all about the songs. The songs are what are. And so when Eitan doesn't know those songs, he gets and if you only sing them once a year, they're not etched in your mind like Kiddush. Kiddush Eitan can do, cold, because it's in his memory, and it's also music. But Yom Kippur is really, really hard. It's harder than Rosh Hashanah, and so that's our next project. But our next upcoming project is the World Shabbat Aphasia, which is on June 1st. And we hope that you all will participate.
Stay tuned for more details.
I can't hear you.
I said stay tuned for more details.
There you go. She's on it already.
No, we did it last year. Just
Yeah.
back to
But if you know communities here or abroad that would take part, it's very easy. No money involved. Be in touch. Really and of course, thank you to our hosts,
Of course.
Benny and Miriam. I'm so sorry I didn't start off with that, but Kbarach Sanya, thank you for being our rocks and really big supporters and pushers. Like Benny said to me last year, this Haggadah has to get out into the world this year. It didn't happen that year, so now it is out for this year. Thank you.
Thank you, Leon.
Thank you for stopping and coming out.
You are.